Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the InNews series. My name is Pooja Dwivedi and today we are going to discuss currency depreciation. Currency depreciation is a term that has been so much in the news recently because of the depreciating value of our own currency, that is the rupee, against the dollar. We are going to discuss it from an overall perspective. These are the many topics that we are going to discuss step by step. And you will of course get a question which will be attached to the comment section of the segment, and I will take the names of those who have answered my last question correctly today, and those of you who will answer today's question, you will get your names in the next segment announced. Okay, so what is the news piece that we have sourced? Why the Indian rupee fell 10% against the US dollar in 2022? Looking at the inflation as well as looking at the tightening of the interest rates in the US by the US Fed, it was of course supposed to happen that the value of rupee is going to decrease, because we are in a floating exchange rate system. We will discuss that as well. Moving ahead, let us first of all look at the concept of currency depreciation. It is the concept that means that there is a fall in the value of a currency in a floating exchange rate system. Floating exchange rate system is a system in which the value of the currency in question is determined by comparing it to the value of other currencies. Okay, and here currency depreciation means rupee has become less valuable with respect to the dollar, and this is the problem. Moving ahead, now if we have to talk about the status of rupee in 2022, it has been the worst performing Asian currency in 2022. It witnessed a fall of around 10% against the greenback. This decline was mainly on the account of the appreciation of US currency on safe haven appeal amidst fear of recession. Safe haven appeal means that US Federal Reserve had risen the interest rate so that people who have invested in different countries can take the money out of there and invest into US so that a recession can be mitigated. That is why India also saw capital outflows. If suppose there are two countries, A and B suppose is India and A is the US. US is giving 10% interest on the investment or the deposits that are being done here. India is just giving 5%. So what will happen? People who have invested in India will take out the money from India because they want to earn more profit, especially in the times of inflation. They will invest this money to, of course, the US. So because of that, safe haven means that your money will be safe over here. Please invest it. We are giving you much more in return than India or any other economy. Inflation across many parts of the world and Russia-Ukraine war. Because of that, crude oil prices increased. Because of that, edible oil prices increased. Food price increased. So all this led to what? First of all, we do not have that much of forex reserve right now, first. Secondly, because of the increase in interest rate in the US, people are not investing in India. So what is happening? Currency is coming down, the value of currency has come down. Now because we have to purchase crude oil and the rest of the things, when we talk about importing things, we always pay them in foreign reserves, foreign exchange. Through foreign currency we pay them, but we do not have that amount of foreign currency as compared to rupees. So what will happen? Our forex reserves will also come down. So rupee fell to a lifetime low of 83.2 against the dollar. Now compared to the rupee, if we talk about other currencies, depreciation of other Asian currencies was to a lesser extent. Especially if we talk about Chinese yuan, Philippine peso and Indonesia's rupiah, it fell around 9%. South Korea won and Malaysian ringgit, it declined by nearly 7% and 6%. Alright, remember that. Moving ahead, what happened? What did we do? RBI started intervening. RBI intervened in the forex market to defend the rupee. Also, RBI took a stand when it comes to repo rate and the rest, so that liquidity can be maintained and inflation cannot go high. We have covered that already. I am not going to emphasize it over here. Since the beginning of 2022, the country's foreign exchange reserves has fallen by $70 billion. It stood at 562.81 billion as of December 23, 2022. Okay, this could be a factual question. There could be a factual question in prelims, so you have to remember that. Now, what was the reason? I have already told you, but let's reiterate it. The US Federal aggressively raised interest rate by 425 basis points. resulting in capital outflows. This led to higher interest rate differential between the US and India. In 2022, foreign portfolio investors, they pulled out. FPIs are hot money basically. They do not, or they do not stay for a long period of time in India. So they pulled out rupees 1.34 lakh crore from Indian market. They withdrew rupees 1.21 lakh crore from the stock market and rupees 16,682 crore from the debt market in 2022. Because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, what happened? That it exaggerated the FPI outflow, and that is why rupee fell down to historic low. There are certain positive and negative aspects of such a move. See, generally weaker rupee should give boost to exports because our exports become cheaper for the world to purchase as compared to other exports. But because there is a weak demand right now in the export capacity of India, people are not consuming that much because of the recession, and that is why we could not capitalize upon this move. Moving ahead, if we talk about the negatives, first of all, because we are going to purchase crude oil, as we do, majority of that we do from outside. We import our crude oil. So what happens that we have to pay for that in foreign money. We can say that we can purchase them in dollars. We do purchase them in dollars. So what happens when we pay them in foreign currency, but we are not getting enough foreign currencies in our reserve in return? What happens? Inflation happens, and that is a reason for a high level inflation that India went through recently. India meets more than 2/3 of its domestic oil requirement as well as edible oils from outside, because of which India got where it is right now. Moving ahead, the current account deficit is bound to widen in such moves because we are importing a lot, we are paying a lot for import but not exporting that much. It depletes the foreign exchange reserves, weakening the rupee. It also results in cost push inflation. Cost push inflation is the inflation which is a result of rising prices in the raw material or the labor. So because of that, cost push inflation is also there. Companies may not be allowed to fully pass on the high cost to consumers, because they do not, although they might want to make profit, but because of the inflation, the government might bring in some policy that they cannot pass on the burden to the consumers. So that can also be one of the drawbacks, we can say, because in this current times profit making is very important. Investment, if profit making is not there, then investment will be very low. Okay, so now if we talk about the outlook for 2023, what is it? Outlook on the rupee, it remains weak in the near future, and the depreciation in local currency may not continue for a longer period of time. Okay, that is also a problem, but let's see what happens. Let me take the names of those for the next segment, for this segment, so that I can take the names of those who have answered my today's question correctly in the next segment. Ranjita has answered it correctly. Krishna, Pallavi, Naveenism, Pramit, Alan Peter Watman, Sagarika, Ravinder, Srinivas, Bhargavi, Tushita, Anuj, Soumya, Indira, and Vaishnavi, and many others such as Ujjwal, Edge of Knowledge, Bright Future Education, Avinash Kumar, Indira, again, Puneet, Rupal, Jay, Yoshita, Rahul, Vani. Thank you so much for watching.